The views or opinions expressed on Ann Arbor Inclusive do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the City of Ann Arbor and the Commission on Disability Issues. For more information about the Ann Arbor Commission on Disability Issues, please visit a2gov.org/disability resources.
Hello, and welcome to Ann Arbor Inclusive. I'm your host, Tom Holtland. On today's program, we will be featuring Feonixs Mobility Rising. Launched in 2018, Feonix has been creating mobility solutions, technology educational programs, and global communities around the common goal of transportation for all. They provide world-class mobility management, accessibility, and equal access assurance, training, and technology support in each of their community partnerships. Locally, Feonix has partnered with the Ann Arbor Center for Independent Living for their expertise on the needs in our disability communities. Today, we are pleased to introduce Rachel Kosla, Feonix's Mobility Innovation Manager, and Will Purves, the Ann Arbor CIL's Director of Planning and Program Development. Rachel and Will, welcome to Ann Arbor Inclusive.
Thanks.
Thanks for having us.
So, right at the starting gate, let's talk about Feonix's mission.
So Feonixs Mobility Rising is a nonprofit agency, and we believe strongly that transportation is an important aspect for people to live independently and to live happy and healthy lives. So we work with communities across the nation to find mobility solutions that fit their unique needs. And we are specifically focused on working with underserved populations. So we work a lot in rural communities, people who have disabilities, seniors, and veterans. And in Michigan, we are focused specifically on working with people who have disabilities.
Okay.
And we are hoping, or our goal in Michigan is to improve the overall transportation experience for people who have disabilities.
Okay.
And we are using a three-pronged approach to do that.
Okay.
The first thing we are doing is developing in-person disability awareness training. The second thing we're doing is developing an online disability awareness training.
Okay.
And the third piece of that is we are using a mobile application and technology to try to enhance the transportation experience.
Wow, that sounds great. So what was the impetus to bringing Feonix to Michigan?
So in 2018, Feonix was awarded a Michigan Mobility Challenge grant. And this was a grant initiative that was put forth by the Michigan Department of Transportation, or MDOT for short.
Yep.
And MDOT saw that there were some mobility gaps for seniors, veterans, and people with disabilities across the state. So they had a call out for organizations to put forth programs that used innovation and technology to address those needs.
Okay.
So through the application process of that grant, Feonix had the opportunity to come to Michigan and meet with different organizations across the state and connect with different stakeholders and different agencies. And two of the agencies that we connected with and eventually formed partnerships with are here in Ann Arbor.
Okay.
So the first agency that we formed a partnership with was Ann Arbor Area Transportation Authority, or AAATA,
Yep.
Or the RIDE, it's also known as the RIDE.
Yep.
And they are partnering with us to beta test the two trainings that we're developing, and they are also going to be testing out the app that we are developing.
Okay.
The other organization that we partnered with, as you mentioned, was the Ann Arbor Center for Independent Living. And the main way that they're partnering with us is to develop the disability awareness training for transportation agencies, or DATTA for short, because that's a long name, and DATTA is the acronym for those words. So,
yeah. So, Will, can you explain how the CIL became involved with Feonix? Sounds like there was a call for proposals.
Yeah, so when the call for proposals went out from MDOT, I went out to a large group of industry, nonprofits, government agencies out at the airport and met with a variety of representatives from the disability community, veteran and senior communities, met with representatives from companies to talk about the needs of those various communities across a wide range of sort of transportation areas. And out of that, the CIL, supported half a dozen applications, several of which were funded, and the one obviously we're talking about tonight was the partnership with Feonix. And our main role with Feonix was to bring the sort of depth and breadth of our disability awareness training and workshops to Feonix because they were wanting to develop on-site, in-person training as a capstone event for their disability awareness training, and we thought that it would be a really good fit, and it's proven to be a great match, and we feel like we've done a lot of really cool development with it.
Makes a lot of sense to me. So Rachel, I believe you guys brought some video I think we'll take a look at now.
Great.
Yeah.
Graphics on a black background read, "In the United States, there are 24 million people with disabilities that use public transportation. However, barriers exist that limit access and negatively impact transportation experiences for people with disabilities." Dana Brown, public transit user.
Transit is an opportunity for people.
The images of public transportation vehicles in a city.
To get around and to have some functionality. For people with disabilities, no matter how great or small, sometimes it's a challenge.
Graphics read, "We developed the disability awareness training for transportation agencies, for drivers, dispatchers, administrators, and other mobility professionals." Julia Roberts, Planning and Innovation, The Ride.
Understanding of what it means to put yourself in someone else's shoes.
This workshop actually had you more hands-on.
Heather Dennis,
so
paratransit driver, Ride Corps.
To go throughout their daily life. We only had to do it for a matter of minutes, where they have to deal with it forever.
So the benefits that I hope the participants get are more insight into varying kinds of disabilities.
The images of the DATTA workshop.
Also some kind of idea of how to guide that person to keep them safe.
Robin Schultz, Purves, Data Facilitator, Ann Arbor CIL.
Functions. And I think that the workshops, there's so many aha moments.
Takes away some of the fear and the stigma of having a passenger with disabilities.
The images of the
And
DATTA
so
workshop
if you remove some of
continues.
that, at least
Kelly
as a-
Johnson,
as an
rideshare
introduction,
driver,
say,
Uber.
This isn't so scary, don't be worried about it, it's not going to be a big deal. Then at least then it might be better for passengers. They will have better interactions with drivers. The drivers will be more willing to accept those trips.
You become part of that driving force.
Alvin Taylor, Operations Training
Treat people
Supervisor,
in a
The
way
Ride.
that they want to be treated, not how necessarily we want to be treated.
This should be something done before you even get put.
Nikia Barras, paratransit driver, Ride Corps.
I think my biggest takeaway was the workshops. You were able to listen to somebody who might be schizophrenic.
Heather Dennis.
Or you were able to write like someone who has Parkinson's. These are different things that I've never seen in any other type of workshop.
We could do a better job as a community and a society.
Robin Schultz, Purves.
Have insight into what it's like to go through a day or a lifetime of being atypical or having an issue.
Visit PhoenixMobilityRising.org to learn more. The logo of Feonix Mobility Rising. The logo of Ann Arbor Center for Independent Living.
That's great. Really good demonstration there. But let's sort of talk a little bit more specifically about the activities at a DATTA training.
Great. So we make sure that we cover both invisible disabilities as well as visible disabilities.
Okay.
And we have 9 separate stations that cover, broad categories of disability.
Okay.
And the participants will go through each station and rotate through them to get an experience at each, with each disability.
Okay. Will, do you want to go through some of them?
Sure. So The physical disabilities that we walk people through, we do a white cane exercise.
In the DATTA
where people
workshop,
are
participants
blindfolded
are
and
wearing
have to
bandanas on their
navigate,
face to hide their
through
eyes so
a
that they are
hallway
visually
or
impaired.
a,
Participants with a white cane
parking
on their
lot
hands
or
are
something
walking
like
through
that,
the
where
room
it's
to the
safe
hallway.
and contained is one. We introduce people to
A
a
woman
variety
with
of
a cane
different
walking through an
canes,
obstacle
crutches,
course.
walkers.
A woman using a walker is trying
can
to pick up
support
pennies on
people,
the floor.
with various kinds of
A man with a walker is trying to go through the door.
mobility issues, and then we also do
In a parking
wheelchair,
lot, participants in wheelchairs are
obstacle
riding a
course,
bus.
or if it's not an obstacle course, the boarding of a bus or autonomous vehicle, whatever the agency is that we're working with.
Okay.
Demonstrates. And then physical disability that we
Participants
explore
holding
with
a pen that can
participants
generate
is fine
vibration
motor
are
disability,
trying
where
to
people
write
have
something
to
on paper.
manage small
Participants
items
wearing an oven
with
mitt are
limited
trying to pick up
dexterity.
candies and
I
put
saw
them
some
into paper
oven
cups.
mitts
Yes.
to simulate
yes,
if your fingers don't work.
Exactly, yeah. The oven mitts and getting a card out of a wallet and sort of working with that.
And what does that pen do?
The pen is, it vibrates.
A man
so it
holding a
simulates
pen that
what it's
generates
like to
vibration
have
is trying
a
to write
tremor of
something on
some kind,
paper.
which can come from a variety of different conditions.
Okay. How about the other disabilities, the more invisible, as you said?
So we do an activity about people who are deaf and hard of hearing. So we
A woman
introduce
is showing finger
participants to
spellings
finger
with her
spelling
hand.
and also some phrases that relate to transportation
A
experience.
participant is looking at a
Where's
list
my
of finger
bus?
spelling figures.
Is this my stop? Things like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have another activity that is focused on speech and language and people who might have difficulty expressing themselves verbally. So we have an activity where people have to give directions to the other individual, a partner that they're paired with, and have to give directions to a restaurant nearby, and they cannot use certain words that start with a particular letter. So they can't use words that start with S or T.
So they have to really think about what they're saying.
So it takes a lot longer to communicate, and this is often frustrating for some people that are doing it, the participants in this exercise, and they often walk away with a lot more patience when they're communicating with someone who is taking a little bit longer to get their point across to them.
Yeah.
A few of the other activities are we do a auditory hallucinations activity, and this is where participants will
Participants
put on
wearing headphones are
and listen
listening
to
to
a
sound
recording
from an
that
auditory
an
device.
individual who experiences auditory hallucinations put together.
Meaning like hearing voices?
Yes, and so this individual who put this together thought that this recording simulated what his experience was like with hearing voices, and of course we always preface this demonstration in particular that people experience disability differently, and this of course is no different. And when people are listening to that recording, they are asked to do like a word search and some other basic word puzzles that rely on memory recall and high levels of concentration that are tasks that could be difficult for someone to do when they are being distracted by a voice inside their head. So for some participants, this is a very emotional activity to do. So we are very careful when we present this activity in particular. We are with all of our activities, but this one has been emotional for a few people.
Yeah, I in researching your in actually being a part of them, I know that being blindfolded with the white cane is also disturbing and emotional and so forth. Have you seen that?
Yeah, so it's interesting, as Rachel and I have done more and more of these trainings, we've had participants have emotional reactions to many of these different simulations. I think some of it comes from, obviously, from their own experience with disability, whether it's in their family or with someone they know or love, or if it just hits home in a particular way. So yeah, so we've had that's probably the most common reaction afterwards is people leaving with a much deeper sense of what having a disability might mean, and having been in those shoes, even if it's for a short period of time, and even in a somewhat superficial way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You guys seems like you've thought of everything. What else on your end?
So another thing that we do is we do a service animal demonstration. Okay. So broadly speaking, we want to make sure that all the activities we do are talked about and presented in a way that
walk
relates
with another
to
instructor with a service
experience. Because we are presenting it and
they are
and
making
having
sure where a
participants who work
curb
in the
is so that
industry
the
in
person
some way.
won't fall.
So we want them to be thinking about disability in that context. So we have someone who is a service animal user who will come in and they will
An instructor
demonstrate
shows how to get into a car with a service
how
dog.
their animal approaches a vehicle and how their animal sits in a vehicle. And they also have the opportunity to talk to the participants and talk generally about service animal etiquette and have a bit of a Q&A with a lot of the participants.
Okay.
Because a lot of the participants have said that they had previous misconceptions about service animals and what was the appropriate response and how to interact with a passenger who had a service animal.
What to do and not to do.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so the opportunity to actually have someone there who is a service animal user who uses either the fixed route service or a paratransit service and ask them their questions has been very beneficial for the experience.
I think too, Tom, that many of the facilitators have a disability of their own, and so for instance, I have extremely low vision, and
William Purves, holding a white cane, is teaching in the
providing
DATTA
people
workshop.
the opportunity and the sort of safe space to ask questions and feel like they can get questions answered.
Yeah.
Is a really important goal of the program as well.
Things that would be, what they consider might be inappropriate to ask an actual rider.
Correct.
Yep. I think that's great. I think that's probably how this works. And then we saw the wheelchair obstacle course. In other words, we saw somebody going up a ramp and trying to open a door and just navigate a chair.
Yeah.
So I know we touched base on it a little bit, but what are some of the other feedback that you get from participants? And again, we're talking about your participants are transit professionals, some are drivers, et cetera. So what has been their feedback?
So we've had a lot of positive, all the feedback that we've gotten so far has been positive,
Yeah.
But as you saw in the video that we showed, a lot of people have said that they've never experienced a training like this before.
Yeah.
And that is one of the great things about this training is that it's really, it's different than so many other trainings. That
I agree.
It's hands-on, it's not PowerPoint led. I've been to many trainings and so many people have had employee trainings where it's presentation based and
You just sit there.
And you can argue that there's benefits to that type of style, but this is a very unique model. And because it is so hands-on and in some cases, as Will was talking about, it really grabs the person emotionally and moves past just an intellectual understanding. That is one of the great things about the training.
The reason it works. Yeah.
Will, what other feedback have you heard?
I think the other feedback that we've gotten, in addition to what Rachel said about the it being very hands-on, very experiential, is that throughout the workshop, we, as facilitators, ask and expect participants to reflect on their experiences and to talk about how their experiences might impact people that they work with on a daily basis. So there's roughly half of the time they spend is in conversation about what it is they can take back to their particular job within the transportation field.
Yeah.
So how can they better serve customers with disabilities? How can they better interact with the institutions and other agencies that provide service for people with disabilities? So I think it's that part of it, I think, is as important. Thinking about how we as facilitators structure those conversations and provide the framework for people to process their experiences and be able to take it back to their workplaces in a successful way that will change how they do business.
That's awesome. What's the long-term goal for the DATTA program?
The long-term goal of the DATTA program is for this to be adopted by transportation agencies and taxi companies globally. And we envision too that this would be adopted by automobile manufacturers, because we see this content being very beneficial for engineers and design teams, because they can take their experience with this training and that information and use it and apply it in the development process for vehicles. So they are thinking about individuals with disabilities throughout the process.
From the beginning.
So consumers with disabilities are forefront in their mind.
Okay. So briefly, you mentioned the online training. How would that work?
So the online training is going to be built off of a lot of the same principles that we talk about in the in-person training, but it's going to be, of course, in a different platform, an e-course.
Yeah.
And it's going to be offered to the same audience that would take the in-person training.
Yeah.
And this is going to be very narrative-based. So what I mean by that is that I'm currently conducting interviews with individuals in the community who have disabilities and discussing their experiences with transportation, be that fixed route, paratransit, Lyft, Uber, other rideshare programs, and asking them to share what they think is working well with their transportation experiences, what doesn't work very well, and what direct service providers and also the industry in general could do better to provide them with services. So we're able to go in more detail in an online platform with best practices.
And
for,
not to mention reach.
Yes.
A lot of people.
So again, it's more accessible for more agencies globally too. So
how can people get involved with Feonix if they're interested?
Yeah, so if you're an agency that is interested in having the disability awareness program at your company, you can email me at rachel@feonixsmobilityrising.org.
Okay.
And if you're a community member who has a disability and would love to talk to me about your transportation experiences and potentially also review the content of the online training, because I'm interested in having people review the content to ensure that everything is not only accurate, the information is accurate,
authentic,
but that it's authentic and presented appropriately too.
Okay.
So again, please email me at that same email address.
Can you say it again?
So rachel@feonixsmobilityrising.org.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Will and Rachel, for sharing all this information. I think it's awesome what you guys are doing in the community. And personally, I've had the opportunity to volunteer at 2 of Feonixs Mobility Rising's awareness trainings by facilitating a wheelchair obstacle course. If only for a few minutes, transit professionals really do experience what it's like to navigate a ramp, open a door, or load in and out of an autonomous vehicle from a seated position. This hands-on experience is a unique and innovative approach that is both changing attitudes and improving public transportation needs for people with disabilities. We all embrace the common goal of Feonixs Mobility Rising and the Ann Arbor CIL partnership in providing transportation for all. We wish them many years of transformative services right here at home. For the Commission on Disability Issues, I'm Tom Houtland, and from everyone here at Ann Arbor Inclusive, we'd like to wish you a happy holiday season. Thank you.